and it is around 6:06, and we're in the North High School boardroom. And Ms. Brown, can I ask you to please call the roll?
Certainly. Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. Lampier?
Present.
Ms. Brown is present. We have a quorum. We also have in attendance Mr. Donovan, Mr. Smith, and guests that are going to be giving presentations this evening.
Thank you very much. And our first presentation tonight is going to be the new Searles Memorial Bench. And if you could just give your names as when you start speaking, that would be good, so we have it on the record.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jess Coffin. I teach at Okay. Hello. I'm Jess Coffin. I teach at New Searles School.
And I'm Deb Richardson, and I'm the New Searles school nurse.
We're here basically as a staff. We wanted to do something special for one of our former students who had passed away, Shay Patno. We were getting together as a staff and community to try to install a memorial bench at our school in the back of New Searles, which is directly right behind where Shay grew up, where his parents are. So we had had all of the measurements, and we have pictures of what we would like the bench to look like and cost, and we had it sent over to Dan. And in order to try to raise money for the bench, we are planning on having a color run, which would involve the local community, fairgrounds, Nashua South, and New Searles, which is all the 3 schools that he attended, in order to try to raise money. And we also have some local donations and charities.
Any other information you'd like to share with us?
I think we sent all of the information over with the location. And so, no, we didn't know if anyone had questions in regards to what was sent over to you.
Well, I want to let everybody know it's going to be May 14th at 9 a.m. New Searles Elementary School, 39 Shady Lane. The cost will be $30 for adults and $20 for students, rain or shine.
That's right. Yep.
Correct.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to make sure anybody watches this or watches it later, they can see.
And any additional information is on the New Searles website, too.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Does anybody from the committee have any questions? Ms. Lampier?
I just have a comment. My son passed away when he was in elementary school, and his elementary school was so kind and so thoughtful to us afterwards, and they did like a little garden for him. So it really makes me happy to hear that you guys are doing the same for another family. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Their family meant a lot. They mean a lot to us, and he's had I think there's seven siblings that went through our school, so it would just be nice for the family to have a place, a memory for them to go by close to home, so thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Mr. Donovan?
Yeah, I just have one question. What's a color run?
Oh, you haven't heard of a color run?
Oh, I haven't.
So it's basically, I think it's about a 3K.
About a 2 to 3K.
2 to 3K. We're
6 times
stretching
around
it
the
a little.
building.
Yeah, so the kids will run 6 times around the building, and then they will be kind of splashed with this powdered color that will just drench them from head to toe in lots of different colors.
So that's the fun part.
That's the fun part.
And when you participate in the event, you get a white T-shirt. The white T-shirt is the base, and then the color is the other.
And it will have like his information, Shay's information on there on one side, and then in black, and then all the color will be everywhere else. So.
And the community has been wonderful in supporting and giving us donations, and we'll be honoring those on the T-shirt too. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of the board members should go.
I actually was going to say,
welcome.
I'm going to try to work it out so that I can be there. But it's I can vouch. Color runs are really fun. If people have an opportunity to go, it's fun for kids, fun for adults. It's not particularly long distance, so if you need to walk it, you can. And it's really a good opportunity to like celebrate his life. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that for Shay and his family.
Thank you.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else you want to share?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any other comments or questions?
think they need to approve it, right?
Yeah.
I think you just need to approve their concept of what they're
Okay.
doing, and so
Do
they
we
can
need to
move
approve
forward.
the event or just the bench?
Yeah,
The bench.
the bench.
I'd also say I'd donate the $30 if Mr. Dunham will run, if I can throw the paint at him.
We'll take that.
We'll be looking for you.
All right, so I move to approve the bench in memory of Shay Thomas Patno
I'll second that.
at New Searles School.
I'll second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you
thank
all.
you.
Okay.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is going to be the painting lot line for the parking contract. More paint.
Okay, I might suggest we just, sorry.
Okay, do you want me to,
Yeah, because we have
Okay.
two groups that are here
Okay.
for presentations, so
I just figured this probably wouldn't be that long.
I could do it quickly. If you don't ask any questions, it goes real fast.
Right. This way, we can just, it won't be out of,
Okay.
off the agenda.
I'm good. So as you probably know, we paint all the lines on our school grounds pretty much every year. One of the COVID years, we did not because there's very little traffic, so we decided not to do so. We did solicit pricing for a 3-year period. For the next 3 years, we sent out an RFP, and we received quotes or bids from 4 vendors. That was attached to the memo that was in your package. And I recommend the award a contract to D&M Striping, the amount of $35,100. Funds will come from the school district's contract services account, 91.1.22.2620.53628.
Okay, I just have one question. Which schools are these?
All of our schools.
All of our schools.
With the exception, okay, so the first year, it does not include Pennachuck Middle School, since that school is being renovated and be painted as part of the contract.
Okay. Okay.
I have one question too. Sort of related, not, but I'll try to ask it quick. The parking lot and driveway in here to Nashua North Titan Way, is that ours or is that the city's to repair?
It's the city's up to the first street that turns to the right, the residential. I think that's Sharon Avenue. I believe it's Sharon Avenue.
Yeah, I
But
can't remember the name of it.
It's the residential, the first right you can turn after you start down.
Yep.
At that point on, it's Titan Way, it's our property. and We're responsible for it.
Is that on the list of things to be repaired on soon? And
our
the park in the
property-
parking lot?
It's in our long-range capital improvement plan, yes. I think it's 3 years from now that we have it scheduled.
Okay, there's a lot of potholes.
Okay. Ms. Lampier?
I was just wondering if D&M Striping is the company that's been doing this for a while, or is this somebody new?
They are the same company that's been doing it for a while.
Excellent, I like their price. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to move to accept the award for painting parking lot lines and roadway markings to DMM Striping in the amount of $35,100. Funds will come from the school district contract services 91.1.22.2620.53628.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes.
And then we just have one more item, and then we can go into all the other presentations, so we get this off the agenda.
Yes, so the South High School track restoration, if you've been out to the track and looked at it, it's got quite a few splits and tears into the fabric, which is a rubberized fabric. The NHIAA will not allow us to hold meets on there. They can have practices, but no official meets. So the board hired Harriman to design a restoration for that. They then put together the specification to seek bids. We received that right around the beginning of April. We put that on the street. The bids were due on the 14th, so that's after this meeting, unfortunately. And we're concerned that we're getting close to the construction season. So that's why I was going to tonight ask you to allow me to go straight to the Board of Ed with my recommendation for whoever the low bidder is. Since I wrote the memo to you for this package, we've also hired a kind of a clerk of the works type person for this track, because it's not my bailiwick. It's really an expertise that we don't have. So we talked today, and he suggested pushing back the bid opening for 2 weeks. So now the bid opening is the 28th of April during school vacation break. So the next Board of Ed meeting after that is May 9th, I believe. So this group meets the following night, but then it's another, 2 or 3 weeks till the Board of Ed meets. So I'd like to bring the results of that bid to the Board of Ed on May 9th.
So why don't we table this? No, we can't, because we're not going to, when's our next meeting? It's going to be after?
It's the 10th.
The 10th, right after.
It's really informational. I mean, I think we're following all the rules we're supposed to. We hired the architect, we prepared the bid, it's on the street, it's advertised on the city website. We will receive bids. We'll undoubtedly we'll take the lowest qualified bid and be awarding it to them. And that we do have the funds in the deferred maintenance to do the work.
I think I'd be comfortable sending this to the full board, since the intent is to take the lowest bid. I'm assuming barring any serious quality differences in whatever they quote.
Yeah, we got kind of lucky with the guy we hired as our clerk. He's been in the business himself for like 35 years, so he's very knowledgeable of everybody from Virginia on north that could possibly bid on this sort of thing.
So, members of the committee, do you want to have a motion made that this will go to the full board pending the bids, and the full board will then decide whether or not we want to move forward with this after we see the bids?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Just an alternative I just thought of, because you do this from time to time. You hold meetings right before board meetings, full board meetings. Usually HR slips in there.
We have HR at 5:30, so if that runs longer,
Yeah.
we'd have to do it at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
None of us would be here.
I think, are you expecting this to be a lengthy conversation? It's just resurfacing of the track, correct? It's not anything, you're not expanding anything that's over there.
Pretty much. We're expanding the high jump area so you can have 2 high jumps at the same time.
Have a place to land.
Boys and girls can both run at the same time. Other than that, we're tearing up all the rubber, redoing the asphalt underneath it. So it's pretty much a total reconstruction, but replacing what's there now.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, because it's not gonna, we have to get this done before the end of August, before school starts, so,
Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
yeah, okay. So did you,
Let's see, we're going to move this forward to the full board pending the finalized bids.
pending the bids, how did I say it before? Waiting, we'll move this to the full board
For discussion.
for discussion, and that Mr. Smith will be supplying us with the bids.
You need a second? I can do it. I can second if you want.
I don't know, my first motion was better than this one.
All right, let me see, pending. So I wrote, I've got moved to the full board for discussion pending bids and information provided by Mr. Smith.
Perfect. I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes.
Okay, perfect. So we're finished with our business at hand, so now we can go into the presentations, right?
So we have 2 more to do. One is the CT program, and one is the Center Life proposal.
Okay, so why don't we, okay, so the CT program is next on the agenda, but you're all set up, so we'll start with,
Whatever's good, convenient.
Whatever works for you guys.
Yeah, might as well. Sand Life sounds good.
I think the CTE thing will be relatively short.
okay, you think so?
Depends on your knowledge of microbiology.
I haven't gone into that route yet, but why don't we have you all come up? And this way we can devote all the remainder of the time for your update, because I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions again. Perfect.
Do you need the PowerPoint? Are you? No. Okay, all right.
Okay.
So just by means of introduction, so the program got a hold of me last fall, or maybe even last spring. It's been a while. Developed a sketch. Their idea was to move forward to expand might be the proper word, their program, which was microbiology, I believe. And so this is the North High School where the classrooms are. As I get more and more into it, it seemed like a bigger renovation than what plant operations typically takes on. And we were talking about potentially moving gas lines, HVAC, that sort of thing, a little bit more than we're used to. So spoke with the director of the program, and Ms. O'Gara, and she indicated she would hire an architect to do all the design work for us if I would put together the RFP, so I did that. And we sent it out on the street and we received 4 bids. We had all 4 actually come through, and all 4 spoke to the instructors. So they all had a pretty good idea of what was at hand. They're all very good, 4 good firms. They all gave 4 excellent proposals. And results are in the memo that I gave you. I'll keep my recommendation to the end. But I thought first maybe the instructors would like to tell you about their program and what they would like to do.
Okay, if you'd like to start off, each one of you, when you speak, just let us have your name first and last. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dr. Francine Brown, and I'm the full-time biotechnology and biomedical sciences instructor at Nashua North. It's a 2-year program, and the first year of the program, we focus a lot on microbiology skills, and then the second year is primarily cellular and molecular biology. We have a current space right now that has 6 benches, and we're able to house 20 students, and we're calling that, as part of the proposal, the microbiology lab. We also have a classroom space, which fits 20 students. And then we currently have what we call our computer lab, which post-COVID has become somewhat obsolete because we have a Chromebook cart. And so that is now a space that we would like to renovate into a molecular biology lab. We were approached last June, I believe, by Dottie O'Gara, that our numbers looked good and that moving forward, the best way for us to expand the program, we're always limited because we have, we have a 4-block schedule, and so I teach 3 blocks, Divya teaches 1 block, and we're always limited by the number of Biotech 2 students that we can have because of the number of Biotech 1 classes that we can serve. Post-pandemic, well, I can't really say that this is post-pandemic, but 2 years into the pandemic, obviously student interest in the program has increased.
So I'm Divya Nagri, and I'm the part-time biotechnology and biomedical sciences instructor. And I, for the past 7 years, have been teaching the level 2 class, which is the class that focuses on molecular biology, DNA and protein science. And as Francine said that we've been noticing steady increases in interest among students. I think especially as we are hopefully nearing the end of this pandemic and as we see more students going into STEM-focused careers, we would like to repurpose that the extra labs, computer lab space into a space that more reflects the future of STEM and have a space that could be used for molecular biology, for DNA science, and even potentially to add on research types of courses. We have a research component as part of our second year course. So to provide other opportunities to collaborate with other STEM courses within the district. So that's something that we could potentially use as a all-purpose type of space to introduce more advanced coursework for some of our high school seniors as they head out to college.
Does anybody in the committee have any questions? Ms. Lampier?
I have a question, I'm sorry. So I was just wondering where the funds would come from to do this. Is it something, is it just plant operations or is it something else?
I think we were told capital reserve, is that correct?
Yes, capital reserve.
Okay, all right. It sounds like a really good investment in the kids. And especially it's exciting to hear you say that because of the pandemic, kids are more excited about science than they were before. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
I think part of what we've been doing with the curriculum is because there have been so many, this has affected their world. It's affected everyone's world. So we've been trying to connect how they can use what they've learned in our class to empower them to be able to find the answers and be able to do something about it.
It's really great to have the opportunity to respond to a want like that. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Mr. Donovan?
Yeah, just so you understand, the capital reserve, that last week when we were talking about special revenue funds, that was one of those funds, and I think I mentioned that CTE would be coming forward with some proposals. Well, this is sort of the first of that. So it's important because the way that fund is set up, that the full board approve any expenses that are charged to that special revenue fund.
I have a question for you, Mr. Smith. I'm looking at all these base fees on the firms, and how come Harriman came in the lowest out of everything here? They were $9,000 when the first one starts at $60,500. The next one is $38,320. Harriman's $9,000. And the next one is $70,163. So theirs is so low compared to everybody else's. Why?
That's a very good question. It's a question I asked myself when I looked at the numbers. And I actually called, first of all, I'm familiar with the Valley Brenzinger. They were the architect for the high school project, so we had a lot of experience with them. HL Turner Group, they've done a couple of our schools. For Charlotte Edge Fairgrounds Elementary, they did all the HVAC systems. So a lot of experience. They're also the commissioning agent for our middle school project. Harriman, of course, they've done Sunset Heights, Broad Street, and now the middle school project. So we've had a lot of experience with all three. No experience whatsoever with Ashley McGraw. I think they're primarily out of New York, although they do have an office somewhere in New Hampshire. So to go back to your question, yeah, $9,000 doesn't seem like very much compared to the rest of them. I called the CEO of the firm, Mark Lee, who I think at least you've met in some of the meetings, and said, how can you do this for that amount of money, given some of these firms are suggesting? So he was very confident that he could do it. They came in, all these firms came in, looked at the space. His was one, so two of the four architectural firms in their proposals provided examples of what they think the space would look like. It was just two, right? I think
Yes.
Yeah. The two were Harriman, who was the cheapest, and Ashley McGraw, who was the most expensive. And those were just notional designs, as I tried to explain to the instructors. Those are just ideas. Those are options. We can play with those and before we end up with a final design. But he was very confident that his number was correct. as you know, they're down here quite a bit. They're down here for the middle school project. They're down here for Franklin Street project. The board just hired them to do the structural analysis for the gym here at the North High School. We just, well, there's this project potentially. So they're here anyway. So I think that's part of it. The travel is going to be significantly reduced for them than some of these other companies. But again, they provide the price, we hold their feet to the fire. They have to produce.
I guess my question is just that it's so far off from the other prices to do the same work, the base prices, that it's not even close. I mean, at least if they were maybe high 20,000, 30,000, then it's at least in the same, area. But, I mean.
I'd be saying the same thing about the HL turn, assuming Harriman wasn't even in here. Why are they at 38 when Ashley is at 70 and La Valley is at 60? So it's.
Sean, what does the, may I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
What does the base fee cover?
That covers all their time spent with you to come up with a design, to actually do the design, put it to paper, develop the construction drawings, and then assist me with overseeing it, whatever construction. And then they also do the punch list at the end of the job to ensure that the contractor did what is intended.
Mr. Donovan?
Well, we could ask them to charge more.
I don't want him to, but the only reason is just that it's so far off, and a lot of people I know people say to me, why are they so far off when everybody else is higher? I mean, to me, we're saving money, but that's the question, you see it.
Yeah, and I think Sean's point is that they're down here all the time. They're working on multiple projects with us right now. They know us. So if this were somebody that had never been here before, then I'd say they're just lowballing and they're going to try to change order us to death. But I don't think this company would do that.
If you say so, Mr. Donovan, I trust you completely.
And just to clarify, this is just the architectural work. This is not the actual project itself, and that we're going to see that later after we approve the design?
Correct. Once we get the design out, then we will put together the spec to hire a contractor. And then we'll get bids, and then you'll.
And is this project, is it renovating current space, or are we thinking about actually adding new structural space?
Current space.
It's all within the current space. There's no, we're just repurposing the existing space.
Okay.
Is there any more questions or concerns?
I think it sounds great.
If I could add, so I structured the RFP so that the CTE program has them for a period of 5 years. It's not been here for a long time. CTE program, every couple of years, has a project. It started with redoing the cosmetology lab, which was a total redo, not that long after we built the school. In the last couple of years, we've had a underwater robotics lab. We've added a drone lab. We've added other assorted things through the years. So I'm pretty confident we'll have other enhancements to the program as time moves on. So I think that's also part of Harriman's thought process, is there's going to be some other projects for them to work on.
And I can say I'd like to commend you ladies for building this program. I think our CTE department is one of the strongest things we've got going for this district, and it seems to expand. And I love seeing students shift to that kind of focus, especially like something like the biomedical fields. So much potential for future growth, whether it's just educational here for high school, or they can use this as a base for whatever they go on to do in college. So thank you for doing what you do and for helping build the program and keeping it current with what needs to happen moving forward. I appreciate that.
Were you aware that Dr. Brown, they won awards with this program? I wasn't until I started work with them.
I actually did know that, but you go ahead and brag a little bit.
Yeah, so in 2019, we won the Advanced CTE Excellence in Action Award for STEM excellence, for STEM programs. It's a national award, and Dr. Brown and myself went down to Washington, D.C. to collect the award and attend the conference. So just about
exciting.
3 years ago, right around this time.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should come before the full board and, right, so everybody could see and hear how great your program is.
Sure, we would love that.
Yeah, well, I can't make the arrangements, Ms. Brown. Bishop has to do that, but it would be nice for people in the district to hear what a great program it is.
Oh, sure, we'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I will make the motion to award the contract to Harriman AE to conduct a thorough scope review to ensure the proper understanding of project scope, particularly given the wide range in base fees proposed, not to exceed $9,000.
You don't have to include all that in the motion.
Will be,
Because of the disparity in pricing, I didn't have a recommendation ready. But, yeah, my recommendation is to award the contract to Harriman A&E. Funds will come from the school
school
district's
CT.
capital reserve CTE fund.
CTE capital.
CTE Capital Reserve, not to exceed $9,000.
Actually, 10,800 because there's the reimbursables.
$10,800.
All right. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right. Oh, we need a second. I'm sorry. We didn't.
I'll second, no, I can't second.
I'll second it.
All right, so I apologize.
motion.
All right, seconded by Ms. Lampier. All in favor?
Aye.
And motion passes.
Perfect. Thank you for coming in. Okay, now the floor is all yours. And you didn't bring our friendly robot in tonight again?
It's hanging out at Nashua Searles.
Great, well, welcome back. Thank you all for coming back. Mr. Smith, do you have anything to say at the beginning, or do you want them just to go into their presentation?
I'll just say that we met after this group. We met after this group met last month and came up with some, just went over the things that we needed to answer, questions we needed to answer. One was to change the number of robots we're getting and to increase the number of induct systems that we're providing across the district. To reemphasize that you wanted to see some examples of what the robot produced, and they've provided that in their presentation. I think those are the main things, and so I think everything is headed in the proper direction. I also suggested they enhance their examples of other businesses they've worked with, especially educational school districts, so they can see that the applications pretty much across the country. And I'm a baseball fan, so they have Major League Baseball down here as one of their, I get excited about that. They said Texas Rangers, which I paused at that one, but.
We also, Chris Slingerland, Sound of Life, when we arrived, we had shared with Ms. Brown our most recent press release. It came out today. It was for the Little Rock School District down in Arkansas. And I made sure that everyone had a copy of that. It was a cool recent project we wrapped up and a school district we helped out.
So when was it installed in Little Rock?
Little Rock was installed in October, prior to the...
Your name?
My name is Toli Chia. I'm the
Thank you.
CEO of Sound Life. Little Rock was installed in October, late October of last year, and they want to wait a few months to see the impact. Kelsey Baylor, the CEO and Director of Operation as well, they have noticed a substantial decrease in absenteeism since they implemented the units.
Okay. And do you have a presentation for us again tonight?
Yes, it's,
Okay.
it's very similar to the presentation we had shown last time, so I'll be obviously a little bit quicker without going through all the details. As Sean had mentioned, we met afterward and revised the proposal. And let me show you what the proposal is. So the proposal we're offering now is, unlike the last time where we had certain schools having the air purification technology, some schools having the robot, we went back to the drawing board and felt that the right proposal should be having all the schools having the 24/7 continuous coverage from the air purification, and then utilizing the robot as a rapid response and deep disinfection tool, meaning that if you will have an outbreak of COVID, bring the robot in, disinfect it right away, so that way there's no lag time of having to hire, companies like Searles or Germ Blast to come in and disinfect. You can use the robot to do the rapid response. In addition, if you want to do a deep cleaning, say prior to a prep rally or any large gathering or school vacation, utilize the robot in that manner as well. As we mentioned, with this proposal, we feel that this should reduce the potential number of bacteria and pathogens in the air, and indirectly, will decrease the number of absenteeism as well. We will also help with the proposal. What it will also help is having an ROI, immediate ROI, in regards to filter changes regarding to from MERV 8 to MERV 13. Sorry?
MERV 13 to MERV 8?
Yeah, MERV 13 to MERV 8 savings. In addition, the energy saving as well, with having to bring out less outside air, mean that you have to don't have to recondition the air as often, so savings on energy bill as well. And lastly, potential savings on chemicals using to disinfect the room. You will have the robot and any labor associated with that as well. Also, peace of mind. I think if the proposal, what we will do as well, we'll offer, if this proposal is accepted, we will work with your school to do a PR release, similar to what we did with Little Rock. We will do a national PR release. We'll do social posting to make sure that all the stakeholders are well aware of what Nashua is doing to keep the schools safe. This proposal included white glove delivery and installation. We will make sure that from point A to point Z, we will make sure that this project is implemented without minimal impact on the school. And lastly, we feel that, using the, part of the proposal will include 6 years of cell replacement for the ActiPure cell as well. So this proposal will include maintenance for the next 6 years. For the air purifiers, the pricing proposal for the robot have their own service maintenance package. So with that being said, again, these are the leaders in education that we have worked with. Actually, just right before this, I was just in Chicago at a superintendent conference, and they're walking through the same process. They're trying to figure out what is a long-term solution for air purification and what is a rapid response. And well receptive of, I'm using Nashua as an example, because Nashua is really, the first school that we start talking about this whole customized solution of air purification and robot. And I give credit a lot to Sean. Really Nashua was really the start of how we do the real-world testing as well. So besides just the laboratory testing, over the last year and a half, we have done a lot of real-world testing, and Nashua was the first one to show the effectiveness of our product. And from that, we were able to create a baseline saying we're expecting 67% reduction in viral load, regardless of what the environment is, and we have shown that across the country. Also, as Sean have preluded to earlier, these are some of the leaders in business that we work with. Texas Ranger is a good client of ours. We actually have a reference letter from the Director of Safety, right?
Actually, the head medical trainer.
Head medical trainer, kind of referencing ActiPure and how well it is. And embedded in this proposal is a video from the Box Center showing how Joe Spalding, the CEO of the Box Center, showing how he have been able to reopen safely with ActiPure as well. Quick overview of ActiPure. As you can see here, ActiPure is extremely effective in removing various contaminants. This is the hierarchy of pathogens, with spores being the hardest to remove, and envelope viruses such as COVID are one of the easier pathogens to remove. ActiPure is very effective against spores at 99.99%, so it's very effective at removing envelope viruses as well. And here's the testing that we did for Nashua. There was 2 locations. One was the high school, and one was one of the elementary school. And what we did there was we took your existing technology, we did a pre and post testing. So the pre-testing was we took the initial technology, which was 100% outside air. The school was using MERV 13 technology, and what we did there was we took a sample of air quality there and did testing on it. The next, on the post testing, what we did was we reduced the MERV filter from MERV 13 to MERV 8, and then in addition, lowered the, I think we still kept outside air in, right?
Correct.
Yeah, let outside air at 100%. And then you can see here with the post testing, the result was about a 70% reduction in the viral load in the air. So in this case, indirectly, it's saying that, even when you lower the filter from MERV 13 to MERV 8, you end up having better air quality than you had before. One of the potential saving that Sean and his team could do is because the air quality is being treated, they could be less dependent on outside air and have it recirculated as well. Any questions so far?
Okay.
Perfect. And here's the revised proposal. I apologize for being small, but we went through all the facility, even the schools that are going to be built. I believe the Elm Street Elementary is going to be built in 2024. This proposal includes that projection. Chris, you have a comment?
I was just going to say, I think it's being, what was the terminology you used again?
Well, Elm Street's being decommissioned in
Thank you.
2024, and the new middle school will be open at that point.
Correct. So we took that into this proposal as far as overall.
So our plan for that is that the school have several portable filters ready that we could use and leverage and put in that school. In addition, any additional shortfall in portable, we will honor that and keep it the same price. So when we build out the new school, it will still be the same price. So there'll be no additional cost on top of what we're proposing here. Sure.
I was just wondering, I thought during your first presentation that there were some schools that couldn't have this induction system. Is that true?
Yep.
Did I
So
misunderstand?
what this proposal includes is that, we will put ActiPure throughout the district, regardless if they're going to be induct or portables. So this proposal will be a combination of HVAC, where HVAC is available, and if they are not available, we will put portable units in there.
Oh, what are the portable units like? Are they small or are they?
You guys have them right now. They're about the size of a a computer tower, and it covers roughly about 1,000 square feet with 30 people in there.
So how many of those would you need for each school? Or?
We would have to take a look at the floor plan on the original one. But in this case, we base on the square footage, saying that if the square footage is X amount, it's going to be $1.25, and we will in this combination of either ceiling tile, HVAC, or portable filters.
Oh, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah, well. Any question on this? And I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Just, I'm guessing, are the two schools that can't, is it Maine, Dunstable, and Birch, are those the ones that need portable units?
They currently have some portable units. They also have limited duct work. So for instance, the second floor of both those schools has air conditioning. There's some ducting in there. So that's where the combination would come into play.
And this proposal makes sense because by having the ActiPure technology in all the school, it provides you that 24/7 coverage in both air and surface. And then using the robot, if you do have a emergency or a rapid outbreak, bring the robot in and disinfect it as well.
I've got a question. Okay, because I see the central office isn't on here. So is that a funny thing?
Sean doesn't care about us.
Well, my question is, where it's not here, would the robot kind of camp out at the central office?
It can.
It could.
Yeah, when we get to that section, what we tried to do, right, is give you flexibility with multiple options for the robot, right? So after we left here, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but we were thinking having a stationary robot at both high schools. It's probably the most active buildings you have within the district, other than the fact of maybe our school-aged elementary folks, right? That's just active just because that's the population of students, right? But I think from a standpoint of how much we offer, like take what we were talking about a few minutes ago with CTE, and then when we were here last time, there was a senior night, right? So it just seems like a lot of traffic.
Right.
So we're going to house one robot at each high school, and then we were talking about maybe having one at a middle school, and then having two placed over at the facilities, right? So you really could in turn deploy that anywhere.
Right. The ideal thing is to have, I think, with the initial thought between Sean and us is that we want to maybe plant 2 robots in the 2 high schools because those are really high traffic area, and use the remaining 4 as platoons of robots to disinfect areas that you think you need, so that way they're not located in one central location.
Every time you say the robot, I think of looking like a person, the robot. And I'm thinking you could program it to bring everybody its coffee in the morning, That's how I keep envisioning the robot.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
They
think
do
it's a
have
great
something like
idea.
that. They do have something like that already.
I'm old enough to have watched Lost in Space, so they had a robot on that too, didn't they? You did too.
Okay, so I guess that answers the question
But,
about central office. I guess you're just,
I was going to say expendable, but no, I think actually for very little money, the central office is ducted, has 1 air handler, maybe
I could add
2
that,
sections
yeah.
of the building. So for very little money, we could take care of him too.
very little money.
What's the, do you know off the top of your head, roundabout, as far as square
Square
footage?
footage is about 11,000. 10, 11,000.
So maybe we figured 11, right? So 11,000 square feet times,
I could add that in here. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be, I'll
You
put
could
that
probably just
without.
throw that in as a,
Yeah,
That's
without.
that's what I
will.
think.
I
Just
could
throw
add
it
that in
as,
here without.
extra.
he's the man.
Yeah, I could add in here without
Just for
any.
goodwill.
Best way to write the checks, you got to keep Dan alive.
That's right.
we'll just write admin down at the bottom here.
And again, this includes the cell replacement for the next 6 years. So the cell replacement, the active pure cell is replaced every 2 years. So this will include 3 replacements with active pure cells, and then any of the portable units that might require the HEPA, we'll replace those annually as well. A little bit about so in this one, we actually have a pretty cool video of our robot disinfecting the, what room is this?
It was actually the culinary room. So 122. It's right down by the restrooms. After we left here, I disinfected all the restrooms, and we did this, and we did the culinary room.
And this is the actual report afterward. You could watch the video. The video is a little bit long for all of them. I don't want to, obviously take a lot of people's time here, but there's a QR code here, and we'll provide you the presentation so you can watch it on your own leisure. But it's a cool video of showing the robot going around disinfecting that culinary room. And you can see here, this is the result. You'll get this report at the end of it, and basically all the red and kind of pink area, that's the level of dosage of UVC that it got exposed to. We were able to do this room within, I think, like 2 minutes of disinfection, and within 2 minutes of disinfection, you basically got a hospital-grade environment.
Which I will say for the culinary program, that seems,
Right, when we saw that room and it actually had glass, so you can actually observe, right? And I'm like, this is the perfect demo room. Let's go in here. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the service package that we have discussed last time. The Select Care is really our baseline service package, which include Tier 1 support, meaning that you'll have access to us and any software upgrade. The Alliance Care package is the same thing as the Select Care, but you will also have Tier 1, Tier 2 support, meaning that not only you will have us, but you have Matt Toombs, who was here last time, as part of the service as well. It does not cover any parts and materials, while the Elite Care package is all-inclusive. We'll include Tier 1, Tier 2, software updates, and any parts and that's related to it as well. The proposal I have here is for the Elite Care package, but also we could change it around if the school decide to go with one of the other service package. Here's the original pricing for the robot. We are looking at 6 robot. The total cost of the robot without the service package is $630,000. I'm applying a 12% discount on it to give it to $554,000. Almost a saving of 1 robot. In addition, the Elite Service Package is for $411,000, and I'm giving a 25% discount to have a total of $308,000. The total price of the robot and service package all in is $862,000. Any questions on this?
So, let me just go back here. Give me just 1 second. So the price that you came up with, the total price of 2.6 million,
2.6 plus 800, it's about 200.
plus
yeah,
plus the 800.
It's about 200 more, a little bit, about 180,000 more than the previous pricing. And a lot of that is that we are adding, all these schools with the air purification technology.
Okay.
I have a question about the robots.
Sure.
So the last time you were here, the robots are large, and we talked a little bit about transporting them, and you said that we would need a truck, and it didn't sound like it was an easy thing to move them.
If you, I believe I talked to Sean, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys have a vehicle that could transport the robot around in terms of a box truck or maybe a trailer, and moving around. The robot's very durable. It comes with a heavy big box. We have shipped the robot around across the country to a lot of conferences. In addition, we ship it from Denmark to here.
Okay.
And
All right, thanks.
it's fully boxed with a travel case, and it has the wheels on the bottom, right? So it is actually, one person really could actually move this box around, right?
Yeah.
I think from a safety standpoint, I'd probably have two, but.
Yeah.
And with the Elite package, anything obviously breaks, we'll cover that as well. The
Okay.
Elite service package.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
So our delivery driver has a box van with a lift gate on the back of it, so that makes it pretty easy to pick up things like this and safely put them inside.
Any other questions so far? Ms. Brown?
No, I'm just absorbing everything.
I know last time we discussed leasing options, so we put together a leasing proposal for the 6 robot. You can see here, really, for 24 months, the robot total all-in cost is going to be about $520,000. If you were to lease for 5 years, the total cost is about $848,000, which is almost equivalent to buying the robot outright. However, there's some advantage of leasing. The leasing is if you do have a new robot coming out, you could extend the payment on the lease, you'll get the new upgrade, your payment will still be the same. It does come with the Elite Care package already embedded in. And this could be used as a capital purchase or a operating purchase, putting as part of that as well. But there is some leasing option if the school or the district want to go with the leasing solution.
But I don't believe, Ms. Dunham, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, he likes to do that all the time, but it doesn't happen very often. But no, if we went lease option and if we chose ESSER funding as a way to fund all this, I don't think that would work out, right? We can only get the funding for the period of time until ESSER runs out. Is that true?
Well, ESSER does have termination dates, which will be the next 3 Septembers. But can you have a lease in place that extends beyond it if you pay for the lease sooner? Possibly. I don't know that for sure.
Depends when the money's outlaid then.
Yeah, it could. We'd have to look into that.
So in relationship to leasing versus buying, as you said, like for the 6 years, it ends up being about the negligible amount of money. We own those robots, though. They're here forever.
The robot will be here. If you're leasing it, the robot will be here for the term of the lease. And the robots are ours, so any maintenance will be our responsibility, not the district. If you were to purchase the robot outright without the service package, then the service maintenance be on the onus of the district.
So if we make the purchase, sounds to me like that would probably be the better option with the, if we choose to use ESSER funds. What do you think about the longevity of, after that 6-year mark of the replacement cells? Like, what's the frequency that you have to replace those cells?
So on the robot, the light bulb lasts about 10 years, and the battery lasts about 5 years. Again, if you had the service package, the lease comes with the lease service package, so if the light bulb breaks, the battery runs out, we replace it.
Okay. And at the, can you repurchase, can you continue the extended
could
package
extend-
service if you're pleased with it?
Exactly, you could extend the service package, or if you want to go ahead, if there's a new model that comes out in year 5, you could extend the lease at the probably similar payment to get the new robot as well.
But the purchase, for the purchase option,
The purchase option will be.
can you extend the Elite package so that you can still have service access after that?
Yes, the answer.
So on the leasing program, can you lease with the option to buy also?
Yes, there's
Like a
gonna be-
vehicle?
Yes, exactly. So there'll be a price determined at the end of the lease.
Okay.
Again, these are preliminary pricing that's provided here, but we could get you the purchase amount at the end of the lease.
So if you're in the middle of your lease or towards the end of the lease, could you do a trade-in at that point and then buy the lease out with the new robot?
Yes, you can.
See, that's the way you do it. You understand what I said? You flip the robots at the end, towards the end of the lease, you get the new one, and then you buy out your lease. You do that with a car, too, is flip this car on a lease, it's easy.
I have a question. You mentioned software updates. If you have the Elite package, you're eligible for software updates. And I didn't know how often, so far, you've been doing software updates on the robots.
I believe software updates are, I think quarterly you'll see something come out, but it's normal enhancement. It's like your phone, right? You'll come out with a few enhancement. We will do that overnight automatically, so you don't even notice it.
Is it only for the Elite package? Or?
It's for enhancements. So as far as like operation system of the robot, you're always going to have a functioning
Exactly.
robot. So that software, like maybe the iOS that we use for our phones or our OS for our phones, right? You'll have that. That's for pure functionality. Any enhancements that come out, right? Sometimes you'll see enhancements specifically to a school system, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually put in, it's almost like the box make suggestion box.
So to answer your question, service, without buying any service package, software updates will be included regardless. The standard one, the first one, the service, I forgot what the name of it is, the Select Care, that include us as a Tier 1 support. So in this case, if you buy the robot, the software updates are going to be automatic all the time because we want the robot to be working. If you buy the Select Care, you'll have Chris, myself, and Carolyn coming out here, being your point of contact and making any of the training you need. The Alliance Care package is having UVD engineers, Matt Toombs, come out and fix it. The Elite Care package includes the Select and Alliance plus any parts and materials that we'll need to fix the robot if something breaks. You're welcome.
Any other questions? No?
Great. Just a few more. At your leisure, this is a great video, conducted with Joe Spalding. So a little bit about Joe Spalding. Joe Spalding is, the original founder of Spalding Rehab in Boston. Well respected in the community. He, along with Ernie Bach, bought out the Bach Center and the Wayne Center and had been, the CEO and executive there for several years. And within the video, Joe is really saying that, he's glad that he didn't do the knee-jerk reaction of going ahead and buying whatever's out there. He was glad that he was waited and was able to affirm that ActiPure is the right technology to help him reopen. Very similar to here as well is a good video of a school district in New Mexico. They bought about 37 robots to utilize in 34 of their schools. Great video showing how the robot operate within the classroom and how they're utilizing it across their school district as well. Some of our case studies of who we have worked with. Chelsea obviously is a school district in Massachusetts that could be relevant. That's a picture of Joe Cooney. Joe Cooney is the the equivalent of Sean at Chelsea. Great guy. They implemented the Beyond. So those Regan, that's the unit that we will implement in there that you have right now. The Beyond. You can see how big it is. Yep. And a little more case study as well. Tingsboro, down the street from us, probably one of the quickest transaction. The superintendent gave me a call at 8 o'clock in the morning. 40 minutes later, they're backing the truck up and picking our units up as well. And in addition, I believe Chris have provided the Little Rock School District PR release as well. And that's it. And this is your team that you're working with if you choose to proceed with us.
What nice faces on
Thank you.
everybody. Nice team to work with.
They really touch up the pictures.
I know. I did that for my business cards, Professional pictures, they touch it up, you don't have a wrinkle on your face. Any other questions? Mr. Smith, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I think, before somebody yells at me, so as you know, I've always been checking to see what else is out there and what other vendors do we have, and should we do an RFP and just see requests for qualifications actually. And I haven't seen any one company that encompasses everything like this company does. You can find, it's no doubt at all that using UVCs kills germs. I mean, that's what hospitals use. That's the main thing. And they provide it with a robot solution, but it's also in the Beyond unit, right? And also, then you combine that with their proprietary, so I'm not really sure what's in it, but it works, stuff in the ductwork. It just combines all those things, and no other company provides that. Ms. Johnson received something from a vendor and forwarded on to me, and I checked them out, and I said, well, is this something I can put in my ductwork? Does it work similar? And you can't. You can't put that unit in a ductwork because basically the air is flowing too fast for that unit to work. So they were all, they're boasting that the U.S. Navy uses on their ships. Well, the U.S. Navy has small compartments. These things just sit. It's like having a Beyond unit in every single compartment. That's how they approach it. So again, you can find bits and pieces of all these technologies probably in different places, but I haven't found them anywhere with one company. So I would recommend, if we can find the funds, and particularly if ESSER can fund it, that we move forward with their proposal.
So I went into T-Bones in Concord during the pandemic, and I saw the signs on every one of their doors. They have these signs. So people want to go, I shouldn't, it's just that if you want to go into a restaurant and you want to know if the air's pure, that's where you're going to go. I'm advertising for them.
And the copper door.
Yeah, Tom will
Copper
appreciate
door.
it.
I never go to Copper door.
Tom will appreciate that.
Yeah. And I can't take any money because it, won't be right. So I'll get into trouble. No, because when I did get that email, I have to do it. I have to send it out. And by law, we have to have RFPs, but we have to, see, you heard the whole thing with the RFPs. And that's Mr. Smith's job, not my job. And I've got to put my faith in him because he's the expert, you're the expert. And so you can't find any other companies out there that's equal, that does the same jobs.
Correct.
Okay. And then now it goes to Mr. Donovan.
I actually
money.
do have one
Okay.
question
Okay.
for Sean. So one of the things I think is really good about the solution, and kind of referenced it, is the units being mounted in the ductwork. It's safer for students just on floor space. I think of specifically in like elementary and middle schools where they just don't necessarily pay attention and they're stumbling around doing kid things. So I think that's a good thing. But I'm also curious to make sure that this equipment, which is very expensive, stays damage-free. Are we going to have spaces, especially I'm thinking specifically for the robots, to house these in the buildings to keep them safe when they're not in use? I mean, have we thought about the logistics of whether we have I don't know if it's a locked closet or if it's in an office, I don't know. Have you considered that?
Well, particularly high school, they're easy. We have good size custodial spaces. The middle schools, same thing. We have good size custodial spaces we can put them in. That gets us up to 5 already. So the fifth one would stay in my warehouse.
Okay, and that would be the kind of the emergency floater that you would take for high
Exactly.
need areas. Okay, and because that would be my concern. You don't want it just sitting in the corner of the boardroom waiting to be used and possibly damaged, so that wouldn't be good.
If Mr. Donovan says he has problems in his office, we'd bring it over there and turn it on.
Paul's going to teach you how to deliver coffee.
And I will say, I think one thing that is very compelling is that having them at the very least in the 2 high schools is that we use the space as for a lot of community events as well. So there's a lot of people coming in and out to use the gymnasiums, to use the auditorium. So that is pretty compelling from a community standpoint as well, from a high traffic zone. So, right, thank you.
I think part of this, and this is why when I saw it, I brought it over to Mr. Smith, is because everybody's so afraid of COVID. They're so afraid of every variant that's going to come out. Nobody wants to be locked up again. A lot of people, if you want to wear the mask, you wear the mask. If you can't or you don't do it. And who wants to wear it? There are some people, but the majority don't. Parents are worried about the kids coming to school. Are they going to come home sick? Not only just with COVID, strep, and everything else that goes around in the classroom. You know, kids just love to bring things home to mom and dad. They share. It's caring, I guess. And so to me, when I saw this, it was like a no-brainer. The question is the funding on this. That goes to Mr. Donovan. He gets to be put on the hot seat on this. But to me, you know, I'd like to see it. I think this is money worth spending, and I don't spend very much money. I look at it with the taxpayer's point of view. But I mean, I'm here because I want to keep the staff and the students safe. So we can, you know, they have a lot of catching up that they need to do, and it's better to be in school than to be home sick, and then they lose more time from school. So I guess where do we go from here right now?
If I could, and I maybe totally can answer this one. So there are procurement instruments that are out there. Mr. Dunham knows about them better than I do, but things have been specified and already sent out for quotes for bids. When we purchased our Caterpillar, you might remember we used a nationwide procurement instrument. It was actually out of Minnesota that had bid out all sorts of construction machinery, and that's how we were able to get our Caterpillar to such a good price we did. You were going to check into some sort of,
Yes.
see if those things exist, that we could reach you through that.
Sure. So one of the things that Sean asked me to do after the last meeting is how do we purchase this, and do we need to go to competitive bid? So after the meeting, I actually reached out to my lawyers. Burns & Levinson is a national firm, and they actually wrote up a memo for us advising us on what to do. They actually reached out to the Nashua purchasing department and got their recommendation. I sent Sean, unfortunately, I was in Chicago. We got it last night. I sent it Sean the memo just right before the meeting, so we didn't really have a chance to discuss. But in summary, what they're recommending is that you could purchase the proposal without going competitive bid, as long as you're participating in a cooperative program that the state recognized or the city recognized. In addition, you could also lean on a program within Massachusetts. Nashua have done that in the past, lean on a program in Massachusetts to make the purchase as well. But I could get Sean and my lawyers just kind of explain, Sean, the process, what we could do to procure this without a competitive bid as well.
So it's not we're avoiding competition. The competition's already been had. So that's just it's the instrument we could use to get the product that we want.
And it seems like, and you were saying that it seems like the comprehensive equipment is pretty much only available through this opportunity.
The combination of stuff.
A combination as opposed to doing it piecemeal through something else. Okay.
I did get the memo, so actually I'll send it to Dan so he has it as well.
If you like, I'll maybe set up a meeting with the lawyers this week or next week whenever you guys are available to discuss the technical details.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Ms. Brown?
I was just going to ask, so if we were to go through with this, would the next steps be to request ESSER funding?
Well, as I mentioned, as we're wrapping up the operating budget here, then we're looking at the rest of the ESSER fund spending. Mr. Smith and I met a couple days ago and started talking about some of the construction HVAC work we were looking at doing. So now it's sort of pulling all the wants together and then figuring out how we want to spend it. ESSER has lots of rules. ESSER has, you can't spend all the ESSER funds on, let's say, HVAC and items like this. You have to spend some on specific items for students, i.e. mental health or catching up on lost learning, et cetera. So got to sort of pull all that together. The ESSER 1 funds, which are done at the end of this September, they're all taken care of. They're just about all spent. But we do have those other 2 ESSER funds, ESSER 2 and 3, which are basically, we have 2.5 years for one and 1.5 years for the other. But we've got to make those decisions what we want to spend it on. And I think that's a sitting down with Sean and I, sitting down with superintendent and our team at central office, and then with the board. Where do we want to spend the money? So that's probably another 2 to 3 months process that we'll be doing that.
So hypothetically, if we got the approval or to get this done, let's say we can use the ESSER funds, we would have this done for the beginning of the next school year, basically. Am I correct? Because we're talking now at the end of the year with the budget?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask, if we got approval, let's just pick June 30th. How long would it take to implement it?
When is the school year start?
September 1st.
September. Within that time period, yes. We would probably work on the high priority buildings first, not the buildings that are in construction, but within 2 months, we should be able to implement the solution.
Okay.
Yeah, so now it falls on Mr. Smith and Mr. Donovan to let us know about the funding, because everybody here, Ms. Brown, you're pretty much.
Yeah, I think do we need to make a motion to recommend this option or to ask for ESSER fund approval? What do you think the appropriate motion would be here?
Well, I think a motion's slightly premature.
Yeah.
Let's look at all the other wants that are, I get them every day from people. So, and like I said to Superintendent McKinney, I said, Garth, at some point, all the money's gonna be defined, and then people might come, oh, I want this. Sorry, the money's all spent. So and I want to make sure I follow all the ESSER rules, and I get all the spending in. There is a large sum of money, especially in ESSER 3, so I don't want to make it sound like there's no money, but that sort of planning process, especially on ESSER 3, has to take place.
Well, and I think it isn't an unlimited bucket of money, and these kind of projects, they add up quickly when you're talking millions of dollars as opposed to tens of thousands, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So what I think we should do is just make a motion to table it, so it stays in the committee. And next month, when our committee meets, it's on the table, we could take it off the table and discuss it again, and see if we have any updates on anything with the ESSA funds, or if Mr. Donovan and Mr. Smith has sat down and, gone through their projects, and see if this is maybe hit one of the high end of the projects. Does that sound good with the committee? This way, we're not losing it, we're just tabling it, and it keeps coming back, and we can take it off the table anytime we want.
I think that's good. My only question would be, and aren't there specific time periods which you can submit your ESSER requests?
No, you can submit them at any time.
Okay, so I thought you-
Sometimes they take a while to get approved up at the state, but you can submit them. The only time you can't submit them, if we've made, let's say, a submittal for a couple $1 million, until we get that back, we can't submit something else.
Okay.
They've gotten a little better at speeding it up. I mean, we send one submission in, it took them 7 weeks before we got a response. But they are getting a little bit better, so.
Okay, all right, I just didn't want there to be a trickle-down effect from if we bump it to the meeting, and then we have to get to the full board, and then we have to make the request, and then we have to wait 7 weeks for the state to get back to us.
Yeah, see, once it goes to the full board, because we have, except for July, we only have one meeting. But if this is something that we think we're going to be able to do, then I'd like to have it done for opening of school. So then this way, the kids get into school with clean air, and we're starting off fresh, and then we can really see how it works. That's why I said, let's table it. So this way, it's always on the agenda, and we can always open it up and talk about it again. So, and then we can get updates with the ESSA funds. This is government. We work very slow. So I'll make a motion to table the revised Santa Life proposal.
I'll second it.
All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Oh, aye.
So the form that goes to state, I'm sorry, it's a request for conceptual approval, and it can take 7 weeks. When I submitted the one for Ledge Charlotte Fairgrounds for the HVAC project, they responded the next day. So it can be 1 day or it could be 7 weeks. That was a relatively inexpensive project. At the time, it was $150,000 each school, but.
It's government. Either they're going to work fast or they're going to work at a snail pace.
Yep.
You can't expect anything more.
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming back. With your new presentation, you answered a lot of the questions I had last time, and so I really, really appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity again.
And thank you for waiting to get through the agenda. I just figured this way it gives you more time. You didn't have to rush because we had people waiting, and I appreciate the time and the effort put into this. Yeah, hopefully, it might work. We can get it into the schools.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thanks for letting us be a part of tonight and our last meeting as well.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
And feel free to ask any additional question if you need it as well as they
Okay.
come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are we have that one other robot here at Nashua South. So we had talked for spring break. We were thinking about coming over and doing, it's here still, so we might as well try to do a deep disinfection over in Nashua South while it's here still. So we're going to work with Sean
Thank you.
to help out.
Get the locker rooms.
We'll hit the locker rooms,
It's
culinary
lacrosse,
rooms.
it's lacrosse and baseball season, so there you go.
Athletes day, and my children are in that too, so it's nuts.
Then we'll go to Mr. Donovan's office.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
You as well.
Yes, enjoy it. It's probably still nice out there.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, Sean.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, so now we're just about on the agenda. We have the FY22 March financial report.
Okay, so I'll run through March quickly. I hope to have next month my first forecast for where we think we're going to end up this year. Tonight is also the night that the Board of Aldermen should be approving the teacher's contract. Along with the teacher's contract was a supplemental appropriation, which is the difference between what we had in our budget and what the cost of this current year, year one of the contract was. So both of those items were approved at budget for the aldermen last night. And I'm assuming, I think there were 7 people there. There was 1 abstention and 6-0 on the vote. So I don't, that will probably go through, which will make my better timing to do my forecast, because obviously that's a new large expense, but it should be funded.
Let me ask you a question. So how much was that amount again that the mayor has to make up for us?
The supplemental appropriation is 1.3 million.
1.3 million. Supplemental appropriation. Okay, thank you, Mayor, for impeding the process, but that's our mayor for you. Okay,
Okay, salaries and wages. Like I said, when I have my forecast, I'll have a much better sense of where we are, but if you look at this, the percent used for the top two, 64% and close to 65% for wages, full and part-time, so hopefully that will be fine, and like I said, when I do the forecast, we'll tie it up. The overtime went down a little this month. That's probably mainly due to a lot of the Biddy basketball ended, so there's a lot of overtime associated with that. We do get some of that money back from the city for that overtime. Then looking at the additional hours is a little lower because the first pay period was for the vacation week, so there was less of that. In the stipends, you can see that's a significant number, 165,000. Basically, there are the high school coaches in the winter got paid. That was about $100,000 at both high schools. And we pay the paras have in their contract a stipend. It's $250 per para. It's called an NCLB stipend. So, which just tells you that it was put in the contract back in the Bush era, and it's still there. So we paid that. That was about $56,000. So that's what the stipends were. And retirement pay, we had a secretary and a custodian leave, and secretary had been here a bunch of years, so that's what most of that money was for. Sort of skipping fringe benefits, going down, looking at legal, you can see that legal is $15,000. Now basically that's the board's attorney, we have an agreement, it's $4,000 a month. The rest of that is special ed using outside attorneys, and the outside attorney they use used to be the city attorney. So they continue to have some legal costs. And I think Ms. Bagley does a wonderful job with that group, but there's just certain things that require legal advice. So we'll keep an eye on it, but that's certainly that line item is over budget and will run over budget. Not the rest of those, if the rest of them on that page look fine, they've been running sort of according to plan. Flipping over to page 2, The electricity looks like we're going to be fine year-to-date. We're running less than we did last year, but keep in mind, we weren't in school all of last year, so I compared it to the last school year that we were in the school for the whole year, and we're down. We're saving some money there, so that account should be okay. The heating gas account at this point is, we made a couple of transfers. We made a transfer early on using E-rate funds. So, but they needed to make the purchase, and then we get the refund from E-rates. We did that back early in the fall. Those E-rate funds have not come in yet, so we reached out to IT and said, let's go, because I borrowed money from this account. I need the money for this account now. So we'll try to find out. My sense of it was I was supposed to have the money back by now, so I don't know if the check got caught up or maybe it got deposited somewhere else, but I'll have an answer next month. And the water should be pretty close to budget. That's been moving along fine. Now, the rest of the accounts in the property services here, sort of the maintenance, and a lot of those are sort of Mr. Smith's accounts, and you can see that a couple of them, like the vehicle repairs and the equipment repairs, are already negative, but he has a balance in the buildings and grounds maintenance account. That's under the year-to-date available column there. So when you net all those together, he's still doing fine. You know, Sean budgets these in specific lines, but then sometimes spends a little more in one line and a little less in the other. So I think in total we'll be fine. The telephone, if you recall, we budgeted that. We increased the budget in this coming year's budget by $25,000 because we've been budgeting $150 a year. So as you can see, we're already at that $150. So though we did get some information on a number of lines, the so-called copper lines, and we will be canceling some of those lines in the next month or so. So hopefully that cost going forward will decrease. I'll have more information on that when we're done with that process. Okay, the rest of these accounts, they're relatively small accounts. Most of the spending is done at the individual schools. So as you can see there, some accounts are higher than others, but they're all in relatively good shape. At the bottom of the page is the transportation services. We've kind of caught up. We're 1 month behind. So the cost that you see there at the bottom, $334,947 for March, that's the February bill. So we're caught up except 1 month, and typically you're going to be 1 month behind. We'll catch up that month in June. You'll probably see 2 invoices in June. And the same goes on page 3 at the top, the special ed transportation. That's a month behind. And then tuition out of district, we did a review with the SPED department, student by student. Take a look. They have fewer this year, fewer students out of district than we've had in a number of years. I think some of that is related to COVID, where the students weren't coming into the school, so they weren't having, I don't know how to word this, maybe it wasn't coming to light, some of the issues, because they weren't here, so we weren't sending them out. But I think you'll start to see that, assuming things go back to the level we were at. We had about 90 students, now we have like 66 students. Now maybe part of it is we're doing a better job keeping them in the district, that's our goal. But I'm guessing it's a combination, that we're doing a better job and the COVID. So, but the good news from a budget point of view is we should be fine on this line for the first time since I've been here. That's been a while now. Okay, supplies and materials. Most of these top lines, educational supplies, medical supplies, testing material, miscellaneous, those are, schools spend those, so they have monies left. You can see like educational supplies, that's sort of the gathering point for a lot of this, where the schools budget things. They still have $272,000. So you're going to see a big spend down in that line or transfers in that line over the next couple of months. We do give the schools allocations, and I'm more than happy that they spend all the money we give them. We don't give them a lot of money, but you'll hear all the time how teachers spend their own money and that sort of thing, and it's like, well, there's money here, please spend this. So you'll never see me going back to the school and saying, can I have $1,000 from each school for ed supplies? I won't do that unless we were desperate, which we're not. Okay, other than that, our indirect cost number is running over budget, which is a good thing on this line since it's a revenue, and that's mainly because we get some of these profits, so to speak, from the ESSER funds, and we didn't budget that we would be receiving those. And the equipment, as you can see, computer equipment itself is pretty much, most of it's used up. There's 60,000 left. And on the fourth page, most of those equipment lines are used. There is some money left in miscellaneous equipment. That's probably spread out amongst the schools. And I think you'll see a lot of activity in those over the next couple of months. Capital lease payments are all made. The payment on Franklin Street is made. And then down on the bottom, basically the very final line there, 90500, which is another, that's a revenue, it's a credit. It's really two things. It's the sports fees, and working with Lisa Gingras, looks like they're going to get their budget this year. And that transfer will happen in June. And the other is the facility rental. So the facility rental pre-COVID, we were getting about $140,000 a year. During COVID, obviously nothing. We've budgeted it this year and next year at $100,000. So it has started to increase, but it's not to the level where it used to be. So year to date, we're at 66.33. Like I said, 78% of our cost is labor. I'll be doing my detailed forecast and next month, so to let you know how we look. But at this point, I think we're doing fine. Any questions?
I had a question, but it's not directly related to this. I'm not sure what month it was, but we had put out a bid for like redoing the wiring on the computer stuff with the city, and they were supposed to pay for half of it. I didn't know if you had heard anything about that, if there were any updates. I'm sorry, it just occurred to me now.
No, that's fine. That money, that'll be spent next year. Where you recall that was on Mr. Rodriguez's presentation. And the bid isn't out yet, but that work will probably be done next school year.
Did the city agree to pay for their half?
Not yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The other thing with that, though, is we're putting it in our bailiwick now because we get E-rate. The city doesn't get E-rate. So once we get the E-rate, that'll give us a discount. That's the time to then reach out and say, hey, you want the discount to do this? So.
All right, thanks.
We'll send them a bill.
We need a motion on this one? I keep forgetting.
No, it's usually just a consent agenda item. You can.
Okay.
Okay, transfer report. First one is Assistant Superintendent's Office, and I think is when we were looking at budget line items, you'll see that we're moving money from the book line, for the most part, down to the subscription line. And that's because we're using, instead of hard textbooks now, we're using more and more computer subscriptions and things like that. So that's moving it to the correct line. The next budget is, we had some extra money in one of our 99 accounts, which is the district-wide accounts, that we didn't spend this year, and we're moving that. We moved that into contracted services, and that's to pay for the superintendent search, the final invoice on that. Because if you recall, we had money last year, but then it, with having the sort of doing it twice, the second part of the cost showed up this year. So we covered that with the district-wide excess. Then Mount Pleasant is moving relatively small amount of money, but they're moving it from this, they're just doing it to keep their books clean. They're taking it from one account, from the same account into another account. They're just breaking it out away from the specific classrooms or areas into the general account. 1160 means sort of just their principal's account. Ledge Street Elementary is the next one. They're taking some items. The largest item, the 2,000, is from printing, and they're moving that into ed supplies. So then what we'll start to see is they'll start spending that out of educational supplies. Pennachuck is the next one. And this is the time of year you'll start seeing these things where they're taking 61135 supply account, the 71 accounts are equipment accounts, so they're moving from excess supplies into equipment.
The reason on this one says Chromebooks, what's that
It
mean?
does say Chromebooks. I'm not 100% sure if it's Chromebooks. We've been, going through the budget process, we've come to find that there's more Chromebooks than students. So it's like, stop buying Chromebooks. But what we need to do, and I think IT, working with the assistant superintendent, is going to start doing this, is to say, okay, we're going to put a hold on Chromebook purchases. Some schools have more Chromebooks than kids. It doesn't make any sense. Let's transfer some of those Chromebooks out of those schools and get them to the schools that still think they need the Chromebooks. To be honest with you, I don't fully understand why we haven't done a better job at that already. But now that when we were doing the budgeting, and when Greg showed me the list, I said, Greg, we have 13,000 Chromebooks, we got 10,000 kids, what are we doing? And those, Greg even said those 13, they're all working ones. It's, it's not like old Chromebooks, because as he told you, if they don't get the updates, he takes them out. It's not like a laptop that you might hold on to for a longer time because it still works. So we'll see. We're going to, and the reality is, with our accounting system, when you make a purchase of computer equipment, you fill out an online requisition. That has to get approved by IT before it gets to sort of my desk or to Derek's desk to get approved. So they'll start looking at that and asking questions before they get approved. Okay.
And then we have about 813 of them that have never come back
Yep.
on Chromebooks. I think the system we have, and it needs to really be fixed, because, like you're saying, we've got 13,000 Chromebooks, we've got 10,000 kids, so we've got about 3,000 Chromebooks over, plus 813, so that's 3,800 Chromebooks over, because they didn't come back. Who even knows what kind of condition they're in? And
Well, yeah, at this point, I think you can pretty much count on those 800 not coming back. As we move ahead, if we're going to do the one-to-one at the high school and all that, we have a new process in place. We have a para that's going to be in charge of that. So, because keep in mind, I'm astounded that 800 didn't come back too. That's a huge number in my mind. But on the other hand, it was like you had 3 or 4 days to get all the Chromebooks out. So basically what you had is each school emptying their Chromebook carts or emptying wherever they kept the Chromebooks and just sort of handing them to kids. We got to go, we got to go. So there was not a process in place when we did that. It was just schools reacting very quickly to get students the devices they needed, knowing that they weren't going to be back in the schools. So now that we've had time to think about it, we certainly aren't going to do that again, but we have the fee, we have a policy, we've thought about it.
yeah, I guess, Mrs. Johnson kind of thought about it, because I know, and I guess that's where people don't get it, from government and private sector. And, you know, we all had to pay for this, although a former board member said, but this didn't come from city funds, it came from federal government, but people had to pay their taxes for the federal government to give us back the money, and people don't realize that, and it's a big loss. It is a big loss, because we had to replace those 813, and that cost us more money. And can I just ask you one more time, how much does each Chromebook cost? Do you, off the top of your head?
About $250.
That's what $250 a Chromebook. Okay. That's not a little bit of money to sneeze about, you know, because somebody who needed it this year or last year, we didn't have to hand out, so we had to buy more, and we had to wait for them for a while. And my opinion, well, I'm not going to go there, but it's not good. It's not good. Thank you.
Okay, this is a central office. This is to cover, we're taking from excess labor where we didn't hire some people this year because we couldn't find them, so we're taking some of that labor and we're putting it into the legal budget to cover the legal the rest of the year. So we know we have another $12,000 on the agreement with our attorney, and then we know there's some more costs coming via special education. So I said, let's just do this entry once instead of doing it every month.
Mr. Donovan, just because I'm trying to understand exactly how this works, the account is 53128. So I scrolled back up to the fiscal year that you had gone through and looked at the line, the 53128. Is that reflected in there? That $50,000 move?
Let me check the timing.
That's the legal services line.
Yeah, I believe it is because well, I can't tell from that.
So it's reflected in the total, which is like 104,000?
No, the 104 is the expense year-to-date. This is being moved into the budget line, and I don't know if I have, you have to look at the other report, which I don't.
Oh, the one for the month? I'm sorry,
No, that's fine, but if you look, it would be, I only have the first page of this, but go to the second, I think it's the first report, the first financial report, and go to that same line item, and you'll see original budget, available budget.
Okay.
So if the available budget is 50,000 higher than,
Oh, right, I see, okay, thank you.
all right. Because it's dated 3/22, so I'm assuming that it is in the
Okay.
numbers that were reported at the end.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Next is Franklin Street, and they're moving some of their supply items that they didn't spend to purchase some more playground equipment. So we have playground equipment ready to go once they're done putting in the towers. I call them fire escapes, Sean calls them towers. When they're done putting those in this summer, then they'll put in the playground equipment. My guess is this is for items that aren't stationary, that they can sort of use this spring, that they don't have to wait. Okay, the next one is Broad Street, and they're moving things out of printing, postage, et cetera, into supplies, the 61135 supplies, and they're going to be buying testing books, et cetera. Mount Pleasant, they're moving a supply, and it says computer. It doesn't say specifically what it is, but we'll make sure it's not Chromebooks. Hopefully it's projectors or something. Then the next one is CTE, and it's just this, we've seen a number of these CTE budgeted their open POs into one account, and they need to, when those accounts, when that PO needs more money, they have to move it from a different line. So this is sort of an accounting thing that they created, the way they budgeted, that next year they shouldn't have that problem because we've changed their budgeting.
So I actually had a question that popped into my head regarding these kind of transfers for different things for the CTE department. So correct me if I'm wrong, there's some of the things that they can actually use as revenue sources or like to supply themselves for like culinary, if they were to host an event, I don't know, a catering event or something, they can use that money to spend in their department. Is that how that works?
Yeah, they have a special revenue account for culinary, so if they were to sell meals to teachers, or if they were to have some sort of an event where they charged the people that ordered it, or they charged so much for people, excuse me, people to come, those funds would go into the special revenue fund, and then they could spend that later.
Okay, and so I had thought, so last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, the CTE department had purchased I believe it was like a sublimation printing machine, right, for clothing? Wasn't that one of the, I want to say it was like $5 for $10,000. It was pretty significant. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, they did. I don't know if it was CTE or if it was the marketing, which I'm not sure. That's sort of the business group. But yeah, they did purchase some printer that they were going to use to print T-shirts.
Okay, so that's actually what I was wondering, is if we'd ever considered using that to do any of our internal printing things. I know they sell things here through the high school that they outsource to bigger companies when you're doing a bulk order. But even for our uniforms and other things, I don't know if it's something we could maybe look into we could, I guess, create a revenue source for our students who are using that and learn to use the machinery. And then also maybe get a price break on some of the items that we would actually need to be printed anyway outside of the district. I don't know, something that, because I kind of thought that might be what the piece of equipment was intended for in some way.
Yeah, I think it's not like you certainly couldn't do an athletic uniform. Could you do a T-shirt? Maybe. I don't think you couldn't do an athletic uniform with that, but I think their intent might have been with the graphic design too, so that they would design these things, then print them, then sell them, but they would be the, sort of
Like the vendor.
the $12 T-shirt that you get when you go to, Martinique or something.
Senior night or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, that's kind of, so I was kind of curious if there was a way that we could use that and also then support the kids in the district that are using that kind of thing. I know that's kind of a little bit off topic, but it kind of triggered my memory seeing these CT folks here expanding their program and this kind of stuff. It seems like there might be potential. Thank you.
All right, maybe I'll ask around, see how that's going. Okay, and then the last one is also sort of CTE, and that's the open PO thing that I mentioned. They're taking it from specific account lines within their program to the general account line in their program. So hopefully we're not going to see these next year because there's no super need to really make these kind of entries. There are some entries that the accounting system does not require. We do not require, but the schools like to do it because it ties in with the spreadsheet they like to have. So some of it's sort of personal entries. But if they're over 1,000, we show them to you. So this would sort of be one of those. And that is it for transfers. You do need a motion because there's some over 5,000.
Okay. So I'm going to move to accept the transfer report for March 2022.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, is there anything else we need to talk about tonight? Is that's not on the agenda? Anybody?
Not from my point of view.
Okay. With that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:56.
Thank you all.